So I'm really pleased on KindaSound today for my 20th show to have a very special guest, a dear friend of mine, Kyriacou. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Good to see you, Giles.
It's really great to have you along. Now, you are known worldwide as the House Whisperer. Can you please explain who is the House Whisperer? I mean, we've only got a half an hour show. I think we'll get you back, but what is a House Whisperer?
Well, it's one who listens and tunes into the subtle elements and messages of what a house has to tell people. I mean, everyone, I'm sure, by now is very familiar with feng shui or think they are. It's been said time and time again that house whispering is beyond feng shui. So it includes feng shui principles. But essentially what I endeavor to do and have been for a good 25 years working in this way is to get people to understand their relationship with where they live, because the inner patterns, inner beliefs are externalized. And so when you go into a house, you can read a person's life, not just by the furniture and the pictures and the artifacts they have, but what's in the air. And it's what's in the air that matters, what's in the walls and what's in the air. And I work to get people to understand. I mean, people come to me because there is a problem in life or something's not working, or they want to try and sell a house or something. And my work is to get them to understand what is going on, why, and to get them to take responsibility for dealing with it themselves, with my help, of course. So that's kind of like a package short answer.
Well, we met, it might have been 10, 12 years ago. I don't know, around that, was it?
Yeah,
15 years ago. And I remember being at a talk at a festival. You gave a talk at a festival, and I sat there. And I came out of it and I said it was as if we'd gone back in time to the 1200s and we'd sat with a Knights Templar Grand Master and he revealed the secrets of the universe. That's what I felt you actually were putting out in the talks. And I know even since then, you've evolved your work, you've learnt more, you've grown. But your background is in architecture.
Yeah, and essentially, yes, it started out as music first.
Music first, okay.
Yeah, started learning the piano when I was 8. And recently remembered that when I was around 12, I actually enrolled in a correspondence course in psychology, which I had to sort of read secretly under the bedclothes at night, because my parents, lovely as they were, and supportive, they had no clue where I was really coming from. And at the same time, I actually enrolled in a correspondence course with the Rosicrucians.
Yep.
Now that makes total sense to me now, because that was like a continuation of the Templars and all the secret societies that have, gone right back as far as we have records to Egypt, Atlantis, and so on. So in a sense, for me, it's a continuation. So music, the psychology, the philosophy, and then introduced, my father was a carpenter builder, and I worked a lot on building sites with him. And so got to know the building trades. And he was quite insistent, one of his sons, me, was going to become an architect.
Yeah.
So I didn't really sort of consciously know what that meant at the time, but it had a sort of a nice ring to it. So I went for it. And then sort of 7 or 8 years later of intense study as it is, I qualified as an architect. But from day one, and we're going back to 1971, I also joined a philosophy school, which in London, which studied sacred geometry, sacred sound, Sanskrit, meditation, and all those amazing things, and at the same time was introduced to Avebury and Stonehenge
Yeah.
and ley lines,
Yeah.
and it was like, wow, what a feast.
Yeah.
That all this knowledge in the land, in buildings, and started visiting them, of course. And I remember my first visit to Silbury Hill and the power and vibration and the awakening that it gave. And it's like the knowledge is there, for everybody.
Yeah.
And they just need triggers to wake them up. And if that is your work this lifetime, then you'll follow it. So that's expanded into where I am now. Potted version, as brief as possible. But in around 95, I was introduced to the concept of feng shui. And someone said, would you like to come on a weekend course? It's something to do with you, where you live, and your life. And suddenly all the lights went on. It was like, I know about this. It was not a foreign concept. And so a 1 day or 2 day course, I can't remember, and listening to the principles, and it was like, I so know this. And because of my architectural work and experience over the years, it all just fell into place. And so very, very quickly, I was working with people, doing consultations and developing my own sort of approach to the whole thing, until I realized there were lots of areas that weren't working. And this was because they're full of very dark, negative, ghosty energies. So ever since then, I've been blessed with hundreds and hundreds of paranormal consultations, helping people to understand why they have spirits and ghosts in their house. And the bottom line is, after, as I say, over 1,500 consultations to date, is that most of these spirits and ghosts are actually your own inner ghosts. Yeah. A lot of the time people think, I've got a ghost in my house, I have to get rid of it, bring in a Ghostbuster. No, I don't go with that. To ghost bust is actually damaging a soul that is stuck in spirit, desperate for recognition and resolution of something in life at the moment of passing. And to go in and shatter that soul, I then have to come in with my shamanic hat and do soul retrieval. So it's crazy. So my approach to that is get people to actually communicate with the energy spirit in the house, and it always has a relevance to their life. And in fact, in the first place, why are you living in a house with certain spirits? Have you been attracted by that spirit? Have they called you? And I can give you lots of examples of both of those. And when people realize what that relationship is, in the helping and releasing through love and compassion of that stuck spirit is released to wherever it needs to go. And it's not always to the light, that's another whole subject. But in that release and healing is an inner healing for the owner of the house, because of that co-relationship. I often hear people say, "Oh, I can't get into a relationship with another person." For example, a single woman moves into a house. There's a single woman in spirit, and she's complaining to me that she can't find a relationship with a real person. And I say, well, it's no surprise, because you're in relationship with that woman in spirit or a man in spirit. And I've seen, all the examples of this. And so it's about letting go and releasing of that person in spirit. And then very soon after, the person finds a real person relationship. Yeah. So, it's such a vast field with lots of layers and levels to it. I mean, it's extraordinary. It really is. I'm doing all the talking.
No, it's fine, Christian. I mean, it's great to hear you talk, because it's amazing what you're saying. I just wanted to say just a real life experience that I've had with you. and one of your 1,500 consults was for my mum and dad, and they couldn't sell the house. My dad was deeply unhappy with where he lived. My mum was struggling on. You came along, you did your work with them, and you were sat there, silently being in the still point, and the phone rings. Ring, 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 ring. Oh, hello, it's the estate agents. With the person that then buys the house.
Wonderful. Yeah.
And but you are, I mean, when you've got a background like you have in music, architecture, feng shui, dowsing, Sanskrit, meditation, psychology, you've studied, you've put the time in. And the reason that you are so successful is because what you do works.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. If it didn't, it would, and I think that your desire to share what you've learned has really brought some things in the last few years. Your fantastic book, The House Whisperer. I mean, I dip back into that. It's one of those books you can read, and then you don't have to start that. You just pick it up. What's it telling me? What's this chapter telling me? What's this chapter telling me? And absolutely fantastic. Your training academy. Maybe can you tell people a little bit about that and the ideas behind that?
Absolutely. It's about 4.5 years ago, I had an impulse to set up, because in a sense, I'm pretty laid back and lazy with this stuff, because it sort of comes quite naturally. And I'll do a workshop for a day or a weekend or an evening. And then I got such a strong impulse, and actually the universe gave me a bit of a health kick and, sort of slapped me on the back really quite hard. And it was one of those moments of, if you're going to carry on and stay alive, you need to sort of start sharing this properly and officially. So I set up the House Whispering Training Academy, and it's 22, 24 modules of every aspect of, feng shui, spirit release, dowsing, sacred geometry, how to work with clients and so on. Etheric gateways, invisible temples, it's just everything that I embodied and have been downloaded over the years through Masters in Spirit. I share that. So for me, there's no secret societies anymore. I'm not, I don't buy into that. I'm aware of them, and they're still sort of around in various guises. I've studied them, looked at what they say, and it's fantastic. But the problem is a lot of them turn in on themselves and misuse the knowledge because it's powerful. And the current book I'm writing, yes, House Whisperer was 5 years or so ago, right. But the current book, Whispers of the Ancients, goes much further, incorporates everything I've ever done, but it's a music album which came first, and the music was really describing a galactic story, our story from unity, the moment of original creation, and the light codes, the 12 light codes that reflect from that, and the whole concept of duality, light and dark, which is essentially the essence of feng shui, but it depends how it's taught, of course. And it's about a journey from, a planet, many millions of years ago, at the point of destruction, and people leaving, coming to planet Earth. So the music of this came through first, and it was recognized by other people listening to me playing the music on a piano at a geomancy weekend. And this kind of festered and developed and produced an album, a CD of the music that was downloaded over about a 3-week period. It was like 1993. It's like, here it all is, write it down. And then my brother, who's a musician, composed, helped me put the CD together. And it sat in a drawer. Nobody heard it for 25 years.
Right. Yeah.
So again, there was this impulse, and I went back to my brother and nephew and niece working with me on creating and orchestrating the compositions and putting together the film project.
Yeah.
So it's essentially, the battle of light and dark, of yin and yang, masculine, feminine, and ultimately how they've come away from unity, and how they can get back through the sacred marriage back to source. And so, a lot of philosophies and cultures and feng shui, we've got the yin yang symbol, and everyone's talking about balance, imbalance. And what does that mean? Yeah. When you talk about the 5 elements in feng shui, for example, are you trying to get, one of each 5 elements in your house or in your room or in your body? It's not quite like that. But ultimately, once you can get back to duality, that balance of yin and yang, people think, oh, that's it, I've got there. No, that's the last jumping point.
Yeah.
Because when you experience bliss, whether it's through meditation, you get to that point of samadhi, and you say, oh yeah, I've reached that point in that. It's the stage beyond that when you let that go. Because if you're experiencing bliss, it's still an experience and you're still in duality. Release that and go beyond that, you merge into the unity and you disappear to the original 0 point. And so all the work I do with clients, whatever the issue is to get them back to their own 0 point. Because at that 0 point is contained all the knowledge you need to know, all the light codes you need to know, the programs. And if you can activate them through sound, and so this whole thing of sound and vibration, and as you know, we've talked and worked with the perpetual choirs, and how that sound, propagates and resounds, across the earth. It's that sound activating the program that brings things into manifestation. So if you want to create something in your life, manifest it, whatever it is, wealth, relationships, career, and so on, health, it comes from that seed point. And the clarity of your space and your inner space allows it to go forward and out into the world and manifest into whatever you desire.
Yeah.
And when people can't get to that, or life's a mess, it's because everything in between is so fragmented. The sacred geometry of our space, which everyone has, perfect geometry, but for many people, it's fragmented either from their own experiences or past life experiences, sabotage, or of course, external forces in the world that prefer us to be in that state. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that is another whole subject, which probably best go into.
Well, probably another time. But I had a very interesting experience. The start of the year, I do this 100-day cleanse. So I lay off the beer and I'm just on, super herbs. I have a schedule of things that I take throughout the day. Juliet and I are doing this tummy tamer 90-day challenge that we're running. So real positive energy we're putting out there. So I'm cleaning myself up internally. And as I do, I'm drawn a couple of nights ago. I'm downstairs. I just reached into the bookcase, pulled out the book. It was a book on feng shui. It's very nice, kind of colourful, guy, probably written 25 years ago. And we're moving soon. Our landlady wants that. So we're looking at houses and, and I thought, my God, I've not even looked at any houses from a feng shui point of view. I've just gone with an intuition point of view. I've not actually looked at it all, but I thought I'm going to look at where we are now. So I map out the house, and in the southeast quadrant, like our wealth area, is Juliet's kitchen. Yeah. And she had this a bit dirty at the bottom of the and I said, oh, we've got to sort this out. She goes, oh, well, I've been doing it. I said, this is our wealth. We need to, clean this area. We need to really make this shine. Then I go around the back. I'm going to tidy up where the boys' toys are, right? and I had a water butt, which is in the summer great because we're using it, of stagnating energy, of stagnating water outside. It like basically stagnating. CK, yesterday I cleaned it all up and I put on our fountain, which is outside, our water feature, which has just sat dormant for 6 months. And I put it all on and I smudged and I cleaned it. And I said to Juliet, you watch our abundance now. You watch our wealth shift now. And I could feel it as I was doing it.
Yeah, yeah. It is extraordinary, and it's so easy to let these things get worse and worse and deteriorate. And it is about looking at what's going on inside. And as you say, you cleanse inside. Yep. If you don't cleanse outside, the outside world will keep reminding you, remember that old stuff, become it again, and your inner world starts to go down. So it is a correlation. It's not like which comes first, you know. And this comes down to that you cannot do it for somebody else. Yeah, if I work with somebody and say, yeah, you know, this area, for example, needs sorting, it's not the sorting of that area that will change your life. It's the inner decision to sort it that will change your life. Yeah, because it has to come from inside. But when you do that external, it's a confirmation that it's a yes, I'm really going to change, like you just described.
Yeah.
And that's really excellent. So the two have to work together, and it's a constant monitoring,
yeah.
You know, of what's going on inside. And when you're doing that, you're constantly developing, and it's like, okay, well, what am I here this lifetime for? And I think essentially, whenever I work with anyone, it's the first question. It's not what people expect. It's
Wow.
like, what are you here for?
Wow.
In this lifetime? Why did you choose to come in? Yes, you chose your parents, and sometimes you wonder why. You chose where to come in, the date you came in, which sets your astrology. So we look at in my course, the 9 key astrology, the Japanese 5-element system. But what you're doing is you're choosing your vehicle for this lifetime, and that can show why and what. But it's good, and a lot of people just haven't a clue why they're here. But the more you work and sort of help them clear their space, inner and outer, with the hope that, you know, there's a spark of recognition. And for me, I can work with somebody in their home, and an average is about 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. And 3 of those can just be this kind of discussion and exploration. But the whole point is to get them to a point of their aha moment. I might see it straight away, or even before I've gone to the house, or working remotely, same thing. But that I might know it, but that's no point telling somebody. It's me. The skill is getting someone to see it, and once they see it, it's like, yes. Yeah. And that is the first moment of them being able to do the transformation work and taking inner responsibility. You cannot do it for someone. And this, as you alluded, is why, yeah, I work the way I do, and I still get a lot of clients and success, because I get people to that point. I will never do it for someone. I'll go halfway, yeah. But if somebody's not prepared to do the work, well, we wouldn't be starting anyway. But so the more people engage in it, the success is enormous. And yeah, you mentioned that the selling of a house. So many case studies of that, and I mentioned some in the book, of course. But what I'm finding more and more, Giles, is the effect of ancestry on people's current life and issues and problems. You know, it's like there's a problem in life. When did it start? Where is the seed point? Because you've got to get back to that seed point that carries the program, the belief. So we're talking psychology here, you know, and psychotherapy. And it's something that I was moved to sort of qualify. And I got a postgrad in psychotherapy some years ago, because I thought, you know, people, that's what I do, is really psychotherapy of space. So I thought, well, I may as well sort of get an official qualification, not realizing how much work that was in the traditional process of learning psychotherapy, and how many books on Freud, Jung, and other people I had to read and study and process. But that was great because it led me to understand how those two, Freud and Jung, particularly Jung, I love his work. He was very much into the esoteric, the Sanskrit, you know, and so on. And everything he talked about is everything that I've been doing all my life. And I thought, wow. So, you know, I've come at it from another angle. And then I'm talking about perhaps 5 years ago. Of course, I've heard of Jung and Freud before, but never really gone deeper into it. So that's certainly, I'd highly recommend, you know, dipping into Jung's work. You know, it talks about every aspect of life, of course. So, yeah, getting people to understand their part in the whole thing. And as I say, the ancestral thing, you often find that a person's issues that they're coming to you from is not this lifetime, it's beyond. So I'm not saying I'm going into past life regression as such, but I go to the furthest point in this lifetime of an event that carries the essence of the issue, and get people, and I do a particular timeline, quantum timeline processing and regression and journey, to get people to see that, where it's come from, but more importantly, how to dissolve it and reprogram it and bring their old, perhaps injured child back to current time now, to make use of it. There's no point going around it and saying, oh, this is your trauma, great, you know, come back next week and carry on coming for another 10 years. No, and I never do more than 2 or 3 sessions with anyone, because once they get it and reintegrate it into their current adult being, it's up to them to get on with life. And, you know, again, great success stories with that. So it comes down to helping people, but they've got to take that personal responsibility, and amazing transformations I've seen happen over the years.
So we mentioned the book, The House Whisperer. Thoroughly recommend that. Christian, what's the best website for people to find out about your work?
Housewhisperer.com is probably the easiest to remember. Housewhisperer.com, and that will take you directly to my main site and all the pages. There's lots and lots of information on there, lots of videos on paranormal dowsing, of course, all the information on the House Whispering Academy, and more.
And what I really recommend people to do is to watch the music. It's the first song that you put out of the Wisdom of the Ancients. Just astonishing video and astonishing music. Just tell us, we've just got a minute or so, CK. Just tell us a little bit about how that's come together. Because, I mean, I watched the premiere and I thought it was like Hollywood quality.
It is. And my niece Eleni, who sings on it, produced the video. And is essentially the first track, Ancient Lights, which was the original name of the album. And the whole album of about 15, 18 tracks should hopefully be released by the end of March, together with the book, Whispers of the Ancients. And then we're looking at working the movie series, like a 12-part series. But of course, that's a much longer project. But on my homepage, you'll see right at the top that movie, and it's a 9-minute trailer. And within that trailer, the entire story is actually there.
Right.
But of course, unless you know the story, but you know, every element is there. And there is a page you can click to go to for updates. And the story is explained a little bit more on that project page. But yeah, it's a fascinating story, and I'm still writing, 12 hours a day often, from very, very early morning. And it takes in a lot of sacred sites on Earth, a lot of philosophers, and esoteric knowledge, but woven into an adventure story, searching for the 12 light codes. So it's not a history. The history is accurate and interesting, but it's the two protagonists interacting with people through quantum time and realities. And
Well,
so it's
I
quite an
can
adventure.
I can definitely see that when the book's out there and when this music gets out there, that it will be picked up. It will be picked up as a film. I really do think so. Exciting, Christian. Thank you so much for being on KindaSound.
Pleasure. Yeah.
Really amazing, amazing interview. Thank you so much.
KindaSound, tuning in for change.